You know, pop culture is just full of mountains. I can still remember the first time I read about Token's lovable little halfling climbing up the Lonely Mountain in order to encounter the greedy dragon Smaug.
I smell you, feel your air.
Death Mountain has appeared in a number of games throughout the Legend of Zelda series. And every time I find myself playing a particularly challenging video game, I probably wind up guzzling a six-pack of Mountain Dew. In fact, if I'm honest, all that yellow dye, number 5, may have turned me radioactive. Mountains have become almost synonymous with obstacles or challenges, and Disney Imagineers must have recognized this as far back as 1959. I think anytime you can walk off the Matterhorn bobsleds without throwing out your back, it should be viewed as an accomplishment. Since then, Disney park attendees have been introduced to Space Mountain in 1975 and Big Thunder Mountain in 79. Imagineers seem almost obsessed with adding new peaks to Disney theme parks, and that trend would continue into the 1980s with a brand new log flume attraction at Disneyland.
Hello everybody, I am standing in front of Splash Mountain. Do you see this? This is Disneyland's latest attraction, and they've outdone themselves. It's a cross between Big Thunder Mountain and Pirates of the Caribbean, all in one ride, and it's a log ride. It's fast, and it's steep, and it's wet.
Now, some of you may already know that Splash Mountain was not the first tourist attraction based on Br'er Rabbit and his entourage. Sid and Marty Krofft redesigned an attraction for Six Flags over Georgia that drew quite a bit of inspiration from these folktales, but also a few direct nods to Disney's Song of the South. The attraction would wind up closing in 1980, but its replacement would continue to highlight Atlanta's Southern pride, and in 1981 we got the Monster Plantation. Park attendees are invited to a special picnic at a grand Southern manor full of monsters. Ironically, this attraction was created by Disney legend Al Bertino, one of the Imagineers responsible for the Country Bears and America Sings. It's almost a little like Disney's Haunted Mansion, but at a plantation with monsters. What an odd concept.
Wait a minute! Don't go that way! Stay out of the moors! Stay out of the moors!
In southern states like Georgia, you'll often encounter attractions and monuments that celebrate the old South, for better or for worse. The stories of Uncle Remus are a huge part of that culture, and you can still visit what is likely the first Br'er Rabbit attraction located in Atlanta. This is the location, this is the house where the home of Joel Chandler Harris, where he lived for a good many years of his life. And this place does a great job of keeping the history behind the author, his books, and all the amazing stories that came from Br'er Rabbit, Brer Bear, Brer Fox, the whole clan. If you're looking for an authentic Br'er Rabbit experience, certainly much more authentic than Song of the South, you want to check this out next time you're in Atlanta, Georgia. The Wren's Nest was author Joel Chandler Harris's home from 1881 till his death in 1908. 5 years later, it became a museum thanks to the support of Andrew Carnegie and President Theodore Roosevelt. It's essentially a time capsule from the past, full of family furnishing and Br'er Rabbit memorabilia.
Yes, sir, Brother Fox. I was born and bred in the Brown Patcher.
During the early 80s, Disneyland had an interesting dilemma. Imagineers were looking to shutter America Sings, an attraction built to celebrate America's bicentennial. The closure of this patriotic show would result in 115 animatronic figures without a home. Additionally, Bear Country, an area that featured 2 separate show buildings for Country Bear Jamboree, looked something more like a ghost town since the attraction never really sparked the same interest with the Disneyland crowd. The legendary Tony Baxter came up with a novel concept. What if we rebranded Bear Country with a new attraction featuring the animals from America Sings? Imagineers looked at some of Disney's older IPs to draw inspiration. However, most of the popular Disney properties already had attractions, so Baxter suggested an often neglected movie in the company's catalog. Plus, Song of the South contained several iconic songs that would work perfectly in a theme park ride. Unfortunately, Song of the South was a somewhat notorious film, due largely to the live-action segments. So Imagineers decided to focus exclusively on the animated segments for this new attraction. Storyteller Uncle Remus was noticeably absent, and in some versions he was even replaced by an amphibian known as Brer Frog.
Folks hereabouts say Br'er Rabbit's leaving home. I say he's heading for trouble.
Now, a log flume attraction was by no means an innovative or new idea. In fact, these log rides were a common fixture of Six Flags theme parks going back to the 1960s. Imagineers were tasked with making a somewhat ordinary ride experience extraordinary. What these fine men and women came up with was an iconic attraction we all know and love, Zippity-Doo-Dah River Run. Just kidding. That original name didn't exactly stick. If the rumors are true, a popular Disney film from the 1980s had an impact on the final name for this brand new attraction.
There's new construction going on at Disneyland as Mickey and his friends begin preparations for a brand new attraction called Splash Mountain.
Splash Mountain will be the biggest, longest flume ride ever built in a theme park. It will include one of the world's tallest and steepest drops, 52 and 1/2 feet. It's another example of the constant effort to bring new vitality to Disneyland. I expect its popularity will rival that of our other recent attractions, Captain EO and Star Tours.
When completed, Splash Mountain will not only be the largest attraction at Disneyland, but also the largest flume ride in the world.
In 1987, Disney Imagineering announced their plans to build Splash Mountain. It would take them about 2 years to build a new ride. The cost of this production would wind up being quite a bit more than they originally projected, making it one of the most expensive Disney theme park attractions of its time. To help cover costs, the House of Mouse did reach out to groups like McDonald's in order to find a corporate sponsor for the project. And while Mickey D's never became the official sponsor for Splash Mountain, they were open to a little cross-promotion.
Buy a Coca-Cola. Peel the sticker. And play Splash for cash. You could win $25,000 instantly. Super discounts on McDonald's food, vacations via Delta Airlines, or free passports to Disneyland. So drop into McDonald's today, play Splash for cash, and celebrate Splash Mountain coming to Disneyland this summer. After all, you wouldn't want to be left high and dry.
Another thing Disney wanted to do in order to market Splash Mountain was to invite the legendary Ernest P. Worrell to be one of the first attendees to brave this thrilling attraction.
We are just minutes away from a feat some have compared with Alan Shepard's first ride into space or Neil Armstrong's walk on the moon. We're about to see daredevil consultant and world-renowned ride tester Ernest P. Worrell take the maiden voyage on Disneyland's newest attraction, Splash Mountain. In this special television report, we'll learn about the ride, the man, and the meaning of courage as Ernest goes to Splash Mountain.
At the time, Ernest was huge. Actor Jim Varney had already worked with Disney on films like Ernest Goes to Camp and Ernest Saves Christmas, so it was a pretty obvious collaboration.
The air's awful thin up here. There's not a lot of oxygen.
At this moment, we ask that squeamish or sensitive adults turn their eyes from the screen. I think I see something coming. Wait a minute, I think I see something, Skip.
That's the log. Yes, it's him. It's him. I see him, Skip. He made it. He made it.
Let's watch as he disembarks. How was it, Ernest?
No,
Ernest, you appear somewhat shaken. How do you feel?
no.
Ernest, would you recommend Splash Mountain to the guests who come to Disneyland?
Yeah, it was great. I'd recommend Splash Mountain to anyone. Things like Splash Mountain keep you young. That and blood transfusions and organ transplants and cosmetic surgery. I feel great. Yeah.
So there you have it from here. Ernest has conquered Splash Mountain. And as you can see, there's not an empty log in the place. Let's go back to Splash Mountain News Central.
Splash Mountain opened in the newly rebranded Critter Country on July 17th, 1989. The feedback that Disney received on Splash Mountain was so overwhelmingly positive. So the company decided they'd be constructing 2 more. One in Walt Disney World in Florida and another at Tokyo Disneyland. These versions of the attraction would benefit from a bit more polish, receiving brand new animatronics and even addressing some of the pacing issues in the original. Splash Mountain would open in both the Magic Kingdom and Tokyo Disneyland on October of 1992. Now, the characters and the overall aesthetic of Splash Mountain play a big part in why park attendees from the 90s probably remember this attraction so fondly. But I think the music is what made it so memorable. Another fond memory for me was the photo op taken as you start the drop down Chickapin Hill. Snagging a photograph commemorating that moment was all part of the Splash Mountain experience. H2O plus a 45-degree angle plus gravity plus 40 miles per hour plus a 5-story plunge plus some unsuspecting, helpless, too late to get out now passengers equals my first experience on Splash Mountain. Just check out the look on our faces. My cousin Stacy almost disappeared. And my grandparents, I hope they were having fun. A decade later, we were at it again. It looks like my brothers took the opportunity to settle a friendly dispute. My girlfriend, Marcy Renee, decided to tag along. Sitting behind me are my parents, and hey, look! Stacy decided to make an appearance this time around. Splash Mountain had one of the longest runs of any Disney theme park attraction. The ride entertained guests for almost 35 years. At some point, most people knew Brer Rabbit, Brer Bear, and Brer Fox from Splash Mountain rather than Disney's film Song of the South. Some people may not have even been familiar with the history of the characters, assuming that Splash Mountain was something completely original like Pirates of the Caribbean or The Haunted Mansion. That said, Splash Mountain never totally eclipsed the problematic aspects of Song of the South, which is unfortunate but also understandable. Supposedly, Disney Imagineering had discussed retheming the attraction as far back as 2015. Anecdotally, the ride was starting to show its age, at least here at Walt Disney World. Several of the animatronics were no longer functioning like they had after the opening of the popular attraction. Br'er Rabbit merchandise became harder and harder to find as the popularity of the characters started to fizzle. That said, the ride always remained popular with attendees right up until its closing. Splash Mountain in Walt Disney World closed on January 23, 2023, followed by Disneyland on May 31st. As hardcore Splash Mountain fans will remind you over and over again, the Tokyo Disneyland attraction remains open. But if that commute's a little bit too far, you can still visit an authentic Br'er Rabbit attraction in Atlanta, Georgia. Admittedly, they've also removed any references to Disney's Song of the South. The Wren's Nest focuses on these characters exclusively as they appeared before the Disney iteration.
Next time, we're gonna get that Br'er Rabbit.
Yeah. But that's what you said the last time before.
Here, hold this.
Hey.
Now, before we part ways, I'd love to know if any of you have any fond memories of Splash Mountain. Give us your thoughts in the comments section below. The final video in our series will discuss Princess Tiana and a brand new attraction at Disney parks. So be sure to subscribe to Retro Spectrum and click that notification bell so you won't miss our next episode of Details.